On March 17th, the U.S. has sent the B-2, its most advanced bomber in the world, to destroy a bunch of sand. Well, you see, this patch of sand is hiding something that could take out the U.S. fleet in the Red Sea in the afternoon. Nearly 8,000 miles away at White-Ipman Air Force Base, this bomber was getting ready to take off. But what the heck was a bomber in Missouri going to do for a fight in Yemen? Well, that's because this is no ordinary bomber. This bomber, the B-2 Spirit, is not only the most advanced bomber in U.S. service, but also the most advanced bomber in the entire world. After taking off from Missouri, the bomber refueled at the halfway point. Since the trip would take just over 12 hours to get to Yemen while on a mission, the B-2 typically refuels every 6 hours to make sure it doesn't run out of fuel. Once the bombers were about 2 hours from the target area, they topped off their tanks again over the Red Sea to avoid being exposed over Yemeni airspace. Since the KC-135 tanker refueling them was most certainly not a stealth aircraft once full up on fuel, the B-2 pilots made best speed for Yemen and zeroed in on their target, for you see, the U.S. had annihilated most of the east to get the weapon storage facilities the Houthis had at this remote mountain base in Sada Governorate. The Houthis had been consolidating smaller weapons caches and moving them deep underground. But this was not enough to protect them from the power of the B-2 at approximately 0129. That morning, the bomb bay doors of the B-2 swung open and let loose its massive payload. It would take approximately 55 seconds for the bombs to fall. 50,000 feet to the underground bunker complex, with each bunker buster's ability to penetrate 8 feet of concrete and 20 feet of rock. It would take about 2 bombs just to crack the shell around each bunker with 5 targets to hit. That left just 1 bomb each to destroy the insides once that protective bubble was pierced. And that's exactly what happened right. On cue, the GPS guidance kits on the bombs maneuvered them right on top of each bunker. With pinpoint precision, each bomb fell right into the crater of the previous one. Within seconds, the night sky was lit up with fireballs as the last major Houthi weapon stockpile went up in smoke. But the United States wasn't finished yet. Just 3 hours later, the B-52 Stratofortress made another appearance. With its ability to carry 20 Joint Air-to-Surface Standoff Missiles, JSSMs, the bomber could engage hostile targets from nearly 575 miles away. These missiles obliterated 4 Houthi training facilities, aiming to not just weaken their operational capacity, but to also crush morale, striking before these recruits could even reach the front lines. Despite these overwhelming defeats, the Houthis were determined to show they still had some fight left in them. At around 8 p.m. that night, the USS Stout, which was conducting picket duty in an operational box approximately 30 miles off the Yemeni coastline, received an unusual alert. The night had been relatively calm until Combat Watch standards noticed something suspicious. Roughly 150 miles away, the destroyer's SPY radar detected 2 incoming missiles. The Joint Tactical Terminal on board confirmed the launch, identifying the missiles by their distinct infrared heat signatures. Previously, such threats might have rattled the crew, but after months in battle, the sailors aboard the Stout were seasoned and composed. 2 missiles, hardly enough to shake them. The captain chose to replicate the tactic the USS Gettysburg had used just days prior, but with a more advanced countermeasure. Take a look at this boxy structure. It's called Nulka. Unlike traditional chaff systems that release reflective particles, Nulka is a cutting-edge soft-kill decoy. While it doesn't destroy incoming missiles directly, its defensive mechanism is unlike anything previously seen in naval warfare. Each destroyer carries 2 Nulka launchers, 1 on each side. Every launcher holds 2 Nulka rounds. As soon as an inbound threat is detected, within just 3 seconds, the Nulka system can be activated, either automatically or manually. In this instance, the captain opts to fire a Nulka round to conserve the more expensive SM-2 interceptors. Once launched, the Nulka decoy rockets away from the ship. At a distance of 1 to 2 kilometers, it activates a radio frequency RF repeater. This is what makes Nulka so lethal to incoming missiles. The exact frequency remains classified, but it's known that Nulka mimics the radar signal emitted by a U.S. warship, amplifying it to make itself appear as a far more enticing target. Where chaff might simulate a 10,000 square meter radar cross-section, Nulka's 360-degree RF emission makes it appear even bigger and far more convincing. As a result, the two hostile missiles diverted sharply, heading toward the decoy. By now, the Nulka was floating harmlessly in the air, tugged by the wind. Thinking they had locked onto a destroyer, the missiles instead slammed into the ocean, detonating uselessly. Although this latest attack had been skillfully neutralized, the U.S. realized it had to go further. The source feeding the Houthis with their targeting coordinates had to be eliminated, but doing so would risk escalating the skirmish into a regional war. According to initial Saudi media coverage, a squadron of FA-18 fighter jets departed from the USS Truman at 1:30 a.m. on March 19th. While it appeared to be a standard strike mission, their actual target was anything but ordinary. Instead of turning east toward Yemen, the aircraft continued south, flying straight toward the Bab al-Mandeb Strait. Their objective? Not a Houthi missile battery, ammunition depot, or command center, but rather a ship. That vessel was the Zagros, a 1,500-ton Iranian naval ship. However, this was no ordinary warship loaded with weaponry. Instead, it was covered with antennae and surveillance equipment. The Zagros is Iran's first purpose-built signals intelligence SIGINT ship. Eliminating it would deliver a major blow to the Houthis. Here's why. The Houthis lack their own sophisticated radar tracking systems and depend heavily on the Iranian and Russian militaries for targeting information. Ships like the Zagros, positioned near strategic maritime choke points like the Bab al-Mandeb, can relay critical data, such as the location, course, and speed of passing vessels, to shore-based Houthi missile teams. According to the Saudi report, the American jets fired a barrage of missiles at around 2:30 a.m., directly striking the Zagros. The outcome was reportedly devastating. The ship exploded and sank within minutes with no survivors. Following the incident, both Iranian and U.S. officials denied the attack. The U.S. stated that it had not engaged any Iranian vessels, while Tehran insisted the Zagros was safely docked in Bandar Abbas. Within hours, the news outlet retracted the story. This was likely a strategic move, acknowledging the attack could have dragged both nations into a direct confrontation. Importantly, the Zagros was crewed by members of Iran's elite Quds Force, part of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC. An attack on such a target would have been seen as a major provocation. Yet even though this report turned out to be unconfirmed, history suggests it could easily happen. In 2021, Israeli Special Forces attached limpet mines to another Iranian vessel, the Saviz, which had also been operating as a signals intelligence ship and a floating supply base for Houthi forces, very similar in function to the Zagros. So while the story of the Zagros may have been denied and buried, the reality of these shadowy operations in the Red Sea continues to escalate tensions, and one real strike could ignite a regional inferno. Frustrated by their inability to damage the American fleet, the Houthis changed tactics. Instead of striking U.S. warships, they launched a wave of ballistic missiles toward Israel, a rare and dangerous escalation targeting non-military infrastructure for the first time in this conflict. But luck wasn't on their side. The USS Carney was ready. At around 10:30 p.m., Carney's crew received an alert from their Joint Tactical Terminal, which picks up real-time infrared signals from satellites high above Earth. The data was clear. Several missiles were streaking across the sky toward Israel. The Carney's answer, the SM-3 interceptor missile, a hypersonic defense system capable of traveling at Mach 13. But its power isn't just in speed, it's in precision. Unlike traditional missiles that explode near a target and hope to damage it with shrapnel, the SM-3 carries a unique payload, the lightweight exo-atmospheric projectile, or LEAP. Think of it like the hidden mouth of a xenomorph from Alien, small, fast, and deadly. As the SM-3 closes in, it sheds its body, and the 22-inch-long LEAP kill vehicle takes over. At hypersonic speeds and under extreme temperatures ranging from -81 degrees Fahrenheit to over 3,700 degrees Fahrenheit, it zeroes in on the incoming missile. Within seconds, it slams directly into the warhead with surgical accuracy, obliterating the threat. No explosion, just pure kinetic energy. hit-to-kill technology in action. The rest of the missile burns up in the atmosphere. For the USS Carney, it's another flawless victory in a week of escalating tensions. But it wouldn't end there. On March 20th, U.S. forces continued their offensive in Yemen, striking with F-15 jets and Reaper drones. But only a few targets remained. The U.S. wasn't out of firepower, it was simply running out of things worth hitting. That day, the Houthis mounted a weak response. They launched 5 drones. The USS Jason Dunham intercepted and destroyed all of them using its failing CIWS, the Sea Whiz, a last-ditch rapid-fire defense gun designed to shred threats in seconds. By nightfall, it was clear. The Houthis were at their weakest point militarily in over a decade. But the threat isn't over. Unless the U.S. can enforce a strict naval blockade, Iran's smuggling network could soon rearm them, reigniting the fight. For now, the battlefield is quiet, but the clock is ticking.